So there are others. So today we are going to see block pattern in basic fundamentals of it, and in later series we will cover all of the main or advanced things what we can do to make sure we can achieve a better performance, and also it would reduce the code and it will help us to structurize the block even better. Okay, so I expect we know a little bit about basic state management. So what is the most used state management would be? It's stateful, because it's by default come with whenever you create a Flutter project, right? So let's see. So what is the state management? So basically, it is used to make sure that current state change very effectively. For example, if you are currently seeing hello world on the screen and you want to make sure and convert it into hey there, okay, in that case you are going to change the state. The current state was hello, you want to change it to something else, let's say hey there. So in that case you are transiting from one text to another text, right? So that particular process is called as re-rendering. So managing that re-render effectively in reactive programming across any language is called as a state management. Okay, so what are the state managements we have? So one of them is stateful, stateless. Other one is a provider, which is widely used and popular. There is a block, which we are going to see. Also, there is an extension of a smaller or better version of it, or when you want to save some time, you can use qubit. There are others like KTAX and other there which are popular and highly used. Riverport is one of them. But yeah, we are going to cover a block pattern. So basically, what is block pattern? Okay. So first of all, let's understand how basic stateful widget works. Okay. In stateful widget, we basically define a stateful class, okay, which extends a state class. So we structurize in a way. Let me bring you one example. Okay. So let's say this. Okay. So this is a program which we are doing with the normal state management. Okay. So what's the output? I'll tell you first, and then we'll see how it has been structured with a stateful. Okay. So as you can see, initially it says click following button to change. Okay. When I click on hello, it changes to hello. When I click on you're welcome, it changes to you're welcome. When you click on the other button, it changes to something else. So how did we structurize this? It's basically we define one text field, which is a text, which has a default value of something. And as soon as we change or set a state, setting a state means we're changing a state. Whatever currently state was, we are just changing it to something else. Okay. So this is called as this is a basic stateful widget, which you will get with that counter app when you create a Flutter app. So just to give you context, so this is the method which we use to set state. So there are other things, which is any state and dispose, which you can obviously find it to understand stateful. But let's jump to the block pattern. Okay. So before we jump into the example, what are the main components of block? Basically, state, event, and basically a block itself. So what is the state, what's the event, what's the block, saying and stream example. So in the block, basically, whatever you are seeing at this moment is a state which is currently there. Okay. And whatever is going to come in the future, it's called as a state after getting affected with the particular event. Okay. So let's see what's the example here and how it is working. So this is our stream builder, or we can call it as a block builder. Why I'm sounding them as a one? Because block basically works on a stream. So basically, the block consumer or a builder, like you must have seen this kind of builder, build function. So similarly, block has its own builder. So builder works continuously any events that is producing any kind of state. Okay. So basically, there is a stream going on. Consider this as a pipe. Okay, this is a pipe, and this is some added color or something you are putting in. Okay, and this is the output. Okay, so previously, initially, the color was coming in blue. It was all blue when you started it. You added some different color, and then it converted into that color. So basically, you did some event and you produced a some state that's basically change in the state, and this is where the state management of any kind comes in a picture. Okay, so you are putting some color from the scene and stream is getting updated with it. So from that stream we are updating and reconstructing basically our main screen basically. Okay, so this is whole journey. So this part you can consider as an event is happening here, and this is basically a state, a stream. From the streams you are selecting one stream, right? Okay, so this is all about like how actually and how we can relate it with a real-time environment or real-time example. Let's see the example we saw with the block. I'll explain with the other example how we can create a block, what we need to create and what we need to do in order to consume it, and what are the other things we need to make sure to create a block. So firstly, creating a block adds a one layer of extra code. Okay, so sometimes block is considered as a boilerplate, like it's a very bad, because we need to write a more extra codes. But then why we use it basically? Yeah, so reason behind it, to simply separate the business logic from the UI. So full form of the block is business logic. Basically, block means business logic. So we are separating a business logic from the UI. So what are the advantages of having the block? So let me just reopen the sheet. Okay. So let's come to why we use it. Basically, a block pattern. So simply, first of all, to separate a logic from the main body. Also, it provides the best kind of a encapsulation and abstraction of the classes. So what is like, if you know oops, so you know what's the advantages of abstraction of any method. Abstraction means adding an extra layer of hiding a data in terms. You might not see it with the smaller example. When it comes to a very huge example, you will be able to say it. When you code is get converted into byte code, it is very difficult to penetrate the abstracted class rather than having it open. Okay, so that is a major part. And again, data linking, like basically we have a multi-block providers and all, which allows the same functionality of having we do it with having same state and inner classes having the same ability to do it. We'll see it in the next lecture how we can use a multi-provider along with some advanced. But yeah, just to consider, just to make it simple, block is just used to make sure that business logic and the other part stay separate. And of course, as you know, the file, it's a best practice of any language is to have a limited number of code in a one file. You can create as many as file you want, but to so that somebody else can understand your code, you need to be very specific what you're writing in the particular file. Okay, so basically this is all about like why we use block. And there are other state management which are better in terms of some aspect and better not in some other aspect. For example, provider might you find very fast, but yeah, but block is more systematic in that sense. Okay, so let's see what are the packages we are going to need today, and understand what are the depths and what are the prerequisites we will be using to create the block. So let me just show you what are the packages. Okay, so basically this series is basically based on the latest version of Block. So you might have find some different articles, but for the latest from release 7, it's been consistent. So some of the articles are old, which has a mapping and everything, which is not needed. You can do it with a minimum step. So they are also focusing on reducing step by not reducing the actual functionality out of it. So this is where we are heading to. Okay, and about that boilerplate, we don't have to actually create it in the example in the advanced block we use. But yeah, today we'll learn how to create those as well. So you will know what exactly and how exactly happening all around, like what's the block fundamentally means. Okay, so basically, firstly, block like Flutter block, it's been inherited with the block. So the basic difference between Flutter, Block, and Block is there are some added tweaks, but although you can use Block as well, but like you need to use listener and builder. I think there are some methods which are explicitly defined in a Block Flutter Block. Okay, I think you must have come across this equitable. So what is equitable? Like if you see it, like it's been used in the block, but why we use it? What's the use of equitable? So let me give you an example of how equitable makes sense. Let me create one class. Let's say person. Okay, name of the person. Let's say Sachin. Okay, let's keep it Sachin, for example. Okay, fine. So basically, we have created one class which has a name Sachin. Let me create a constructor for it. So don't worry about the syntax. I'm just giving an example how this must be, but I hope you will understand it with it. Okay. So basically, this is our name. We are just the person constructor. It has a name. So I'm creating one variable person Sachin, let's say. Okay, and I'm adding the value name to it. Okay, for example, Sachin. Okay, if you do this, basically print Sachin is equal to a new person name Sachin. Okay, so in this case, you will not see a true. You will see basically a false. Why? Because they are equal, but but the equal sign is not capable to see the entire class and to equitize it. Okay, so that's where the equitable comes. You can find it equitable a package. I'll just show you. Try to find that package. Okay, so basically this is the package. Just not to get confused with it. So similar kind of explanation you will find it here. So yeah, this is where the equitable comes in a picture. When you define a class and it has equitable as override, you will be able to do it. So this is a gist of it. So I don't want to derail from the topic of block, but yeah, the questions will obviously come that why we are extending it with the equitable. Just to give you that idea, why we do it is for that purpose. So you can find more about equitable, but let's see how the block works. Okay, as I said, there are three core things in the block. First is event, second is state, and the last one is a block. Okay, so let's see this example which is done with the block. So work similarly, right? There's nothing that surprises. Okay, so what we did in changes, so let's identify what are the events for this. Okay, so what is the event? Event is something which we define to make change in the state. So in all of the actions, we are actually changing the text, right? Nothing else. We're just making sure the text is getting changed. So the potential event should be a change in a text, right? So let's shortlist our first event, which is a change text, for example. Let's keep it change state event. Okay, so now what are the state we are changing it into? First, it gets changed into hello state. Again, then it changes into the you are welcome state. Again, it changes into congratulations. Let's move to the next. Okay, these are the 3 stages. You can make it out if you want to, but I'll give you some other hint which makes it very simple and very easy in terms of mapping out the code. In all of the state, what we are exactly doing, we are just basically changing one text, right? So instead of creating 3 separate states which represent hello, represent your name, you are welcome, and the represents the last one, congratulations. Instead of that, let's consider create only single state which holds this value. So how do we do it? Let's see what we can do. So basically a basic state, let's say, why I'm saying basic, because we are going to give this name as a basic block. Okay, so in the basic block, only thing that changes, which is a text, isn't it? So we can changing the text, we're actually having a 3 possibility of a event or any infinite possibility if we manage it very well. Okay, So what are the three possibilities here are this state which represents first hello, second you are welcome, the last one is also there. So this is the state which you can, so for previously if you say it, I just want to make sure that you have seen it somewhere. If you find it somewhere that it's defined three states and it's making sure that conditions are added to make sure this state in then display this, X state then display this, let's not worry about it. I'm making sure that it is even simpler to understand the basic block. So in other words, basically we have a multiple event and single state which has a different characteristics. So what are the characteristics could be? For example, a person. So I'm a person, and if I make an event to dress up for a party, then I'll be a person with the party outfit. Similarly, if I dress up for something else, let's say for a birthday, for birthday is also party, for some traditional thing, then I'm dressed up with some traditional outfit. So outfit is changing, state is remaining same, but due to person is remaining same, due to change in its outfit, the state entirely gets changed. So this is how it is. Okay, so let's define and see how our theory works in real life. Okay, let's start with the event. Okay, yes. So this is how we define the event. Okay, so you can find it like, as I said, equitable is just adding a parameters to it to make sure that we can copy, like we can basically send the props that needs to be checked thoroughly. Okay, so let me explain it deeper. Okay, I created one abstract class. I haven't given the name, but it's kind of a abstraction because I'm not defining anything here. We can define the this above and then have it, but just to keep it simple and not to have any extra load of code here. So I simply created one class which creates encapsulation of holding all of the other classes which I am supposedly gonna define here. Okay, which will be represented with a one notation. Okay, so what I have done here, let me explain. So basically this is the equitable class which has a props which I'm not passing anything from here, but rather when I'm extending to the specific class, let's say change text to display, I'm defining one more class which is again extending a basic event. Okay, in this, if you can notice, there is a field called as text. As I said, I'll just define one. Okay, this is like an event. This is like an event. So for let me just reiterate. So this is an event block. Inside that, we are creating some smaller events. For example, change text. There could be some other events. For example, if our code is going to change the color of the background, that would have been changed background color. So similarly, we can define other events as well within the same frame. So what are we doing in this event? In the event, we just define what we need to make sure and execute this particular event. For instance, for example, what example we are going to see is addition of two number and subtraction of two number. With two events, we are going to perform two different operations. In that, basically, when I click on addition, I need to take two inputs, right? At like value one and value two. So similarly, the event will have two values, a value one and value two. But here we just want the text to be inputted in order to change it. So it's very simple event. So we are just taking input as a text, and why we are using here equipment, why we are defining a props here, we want to make sure these props get equitably checked. That's it. That's the reason, and that's how easy it is to understand equitably. Let's see what are the events. Similarly, so you might find a similarity here because our event is one and output is also a text, right? That's why you are finding a similarity. But when we'll jump onto a summation and like the complex example which we are going to see, we'll find something different here. But let's understand something simple. So in this, obviously, like we are not going to define any sub states which we can easily do it the way we have defined the events, and we need to compare them. But just to eliminate all of that complexity and have it in the transition from this to advanced would be easy if we understand this portion. Okay, so in this, basically we are getting that particular text. Okay, then we are going to use the copy with. So basically, what is the copy with? So copy with is nothing but a deeply copying the object from one to another. Okay. So what is like basically difference between, let's say, let's have an example. Some of you might already know how copy with work, but just to for a general audience. Okay. So when we say person A is equal to, for example, I have considered that like constructor I have created over there. Okay. And then we say B is equal to A. So basically, A and B are not a different object. They are just copied, and they have copied to the level where their addresses are pointing to the same reference, which we do not want. We want a state to be changed. Basically, we are just creating a, instead of creating a different classes to make that change, we are making sure that it is just deeply changing actual values and making sure that new object is getting created. So what we actually wanted to do here is basically this: person P is equal to person name Sachin. Okay, which we wanted to achieve. So to make it simple, we can do it like this, right? Of course, like A dot name. It acts like a similar thing. But to make it simple, what we are doing, we are defining one method inside the our model class, which basically does this for us. Okay, so let's jump to our example again. So I hope you guys have understood the copy with. So it's very simple and it's very core in terms of Flutter concept. Okay, so all the sets are there. Like now two stages are done. First is state, other one is event. Both of those are ready. Let's understand how the block has been written. Okay, let me just cut it out and make it for you guys. Okay. Okay, so as I said, you have options still to use a like emit like separate mapping and everything with the block, but I would never recommend to do it because it's outdated in some terms and it will be discontinued later. So that's why. So how we are doing it basically? Simply, we are just going to define a constructor in a way that it represent each kind of event. Basically, we are going to write a each separate block of code for each event, which will produce the output for us. What is the output? Of course, it's a state. Okay, let me show you how it's done. We are just defining a consumer, defining the block. So it's a strict rule. Like basically, the above class which we are basically block, it needs to have a super to be added so that the states can be active. So defining a state, initial state, we need to define it with the super. Okay, basically because block basically starts with some state, because when we are gonna change to some different outfit, we are with some outfit, right? That's how this works. Okay, so let's define our basic state. Okay, click following buttons to change. Okay, that's all when it comes to writing a logic for it. Okay, now yeah, now let me explain what is this all things. Okay, so this is like starting with, let me just start and show you what's happening right now in our design in UI. Okay, so we are here. Okay, so when we are going to execute a particular event, we have not defined any definition for that event. So we of course will get an exception that this particular event is not been defined. Okay, so how do we define a particular event within the block? So it's the error simply says that it is not been registered. Let me register this event. How do we register it? Simply add that in a constructor. This is how simple it is to write. So let me write it, and yeah. Okay, so this is how we define an event. Okay, let me now see whether I'm getting the same error or not. Of course we'll not, because we defined the event now. but nothing is happening here, right? Nothing is happening because we are not emitting any state. What is emit? Basically, it's like from that example which I was showing previously. Okay, basically this is like throwing up, right? This is a event. You have done everything here, and this portion is basically emitting. This putting it in is called as emit. Okay, it's a similarly how we emit a signal of any kind. Similar principally it works here. Okay, so let me emit something. Okay, so what do I emit? Of course, I need to emit a state. So I'll use a copy with, and let me emit something weird. Let's say, what are we doing? Okay, let's see what happens when we click on the event. Okay, what are we doing? Like, because we have wrote some logic, I'll show you what's the logic there. I just want to show you first how the blocking entirely does the role. Okay, so basically we have successfully achieved to change to something, but now let's see how we change it to particular thing what we want it to be. So before that, we need to understand the consumer, basically. So what is the consumer, or what is a builder? This portion of a video, this portion of the particular screen. So this is a stream builder. So we have options to write on, but let's understand the simplest and where one of the most easiest, which is consumer. Okay. We start with provider, then sorry, builder. I'll explain what is the return about. Okay, so how we started. So to create a class in the block, we just like in the UI side, we need to create one class. Let's say basic block screen, and we need to initialize the provider for it. So what is the initialization of the provider? We make sure that it initializes its default state, correct? So as I said, when I initialize this block, it defaultly initializes this particular message. Let me change it to something else and see what happens. Let me go back, and when I come to this, see this particular message get initialized at the beginning. Similarly, we can change it to anything. We can even pass things, which we'll see in the later, but we need to wrap up and one more example, which is addition and subtraction. Okay, where I was. Yeah. So basically, this is called as a like starting off or initialization of the particular block. Okay. So block provider comes like you can define everything within here, but it's always to keep the provider in a separate kind of a class. It makes it very easy to understand because there could be some initial events you might need to be called, which we'll see later. But just to simplicity, understand this part, digest it a little bit, we'll understand it even better when we'll jump to the advanced stuff. So you guys are seeing it. I'm using one state only, which is stateless. We are not using stateful and block together. It's very bad practice, but we can still use it in some cases where you want to do a specific animation or any specific task, which can be easily dealt with, and it is not going to affect to the data. And it's only UI centric task. We can use it. So yeah, there's no rule not to use it, but we should avoid it. Okay, then this is similar class. Similarly, we have done. So this is particularly let's add our own button here. Let's see what happens. So let's say this is our session button. This is our button. Let's say it represents button. Simply, it will display a button text. Okay. Okay. So let's see what's happening here. When I click on it, still nothing is happening. So what I've done, and let me explain. How did I call a particular event? Is basically to call an event, we need a provider. What is a provider? Provider help us to get the context of whatever we are requesting it to. So there could be a cases where we have a nesting of a providers of a block, basically one parent block, and there are some child blocks as well. So there are the ways to access from the small, like the in the loop, like in the list, which is the last child can also access its parents, descendants, because this is how Flutter works. That we have access to descendants in a way if we give them a key or global key or anything. So how do we call an event? Basically, block block provider, then which block we want to call it with, and then simply add an event. So basically, what is we are calling it to change text to display. So what is written in that? Okay, we just wrote something like, what are we doing? So we want to have the message which we are passing into the event, right? So what we are passing the button, where from what we were passing into, it was a field text. So basically, to get here, we'll use event dot text. It will simply get that text and it will pass to the emitter and it will emit it to the display. Let's see how it is. Let me start with again. Okay, let's click one of the box. Hey, now it's working. Even our button is also working. So this is how simple it is to create a block. And yeah, I hope you guys understood this. We'll jump to another example. Uh, if you guys have any questions at this moment, I'll look and wait for 2 minutes, and else I'll jump to the other example. Okay. Okay, so I guess let me show you one more example. We'll do it from the scratch. So let me give you in context what we are actually making in this example. We are going to get two text fields, and we are going to have a button for addition and subtraction. When we click on addition, it will display the addition of both numbers. We do the subtraction, it will subtract both the numbers. So this is how it's going to be. So let me make this quickly with the stateful, and then I'll make you understand and write it simultaneously with the block. Okay, let me add and sub with. My bad, never use camel case. Okay. 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 Simply let me create the UI. Of course, this UI will be used similarly for the art block. UI part doesn't change that much. The only part that changes, which is a screen, like basically whatever we are going to display. Sorry, yeah, correct. And whatever we are going to change in terms of logic. Basically, we are changing and mean like separating the logic from the UI to a backside, which is a block side. So let me define our agenda. Let me take one column. Inside that column, we'll just simply have two text fields. Okay, let's have a name. Field one. Number one. Okay, it text widget. Hmm. Let me get one more button. So UI is going to be very poor, but yeah, let's see. And then let me add one row. In that row, let me have two elevated button. Let's say admin. Other one will be submin. Okay, and then finally we'll be saying the result. Text result. Let's say if it is not there, then we'll say not applicable. Okay, here we have it. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, so let me navigate to this page again. Okay, see, simple. Let me make it little bit good in terms of UI. Okay, I hope this is doable. And let me put some margin here. Okay, this looks pretty. Okay, fine. This is our UI is going to be. Okay, so you will enter number one, number two, and when I hit on add me, it will add. When we click on sub, then it will subtract. Okay, so I'm trying to define more variables here. So let's see how it is. Okay, so let's have one variable result ready. Okay, it says false. If result is ready, then we will have a result here instead of that any. Okay, so let's see how we'll do it. Okay, okay, if the result is ready, okay, then what did we did let's define as operation. Okay, operation, what was the operation? String, let's say add. By default, let's not have anything here. What we did, so if result is ready, we want to display what operation we performed, basically. So we want to display the operation, along with that the result, of course. Final and the result, let's see, let's keep it 0. Anyways, it's not going to be displayed unless we perform any operation, because default value will be 0 for that. Okay, yep. So let's see what's been displayed here. Nothing, right? Because we have not had like result yet, so have result yet, so it's not applicable. So let me just do it. Okay, so it's not going to change in a block as well. We are of course going to use controllers in a text controller. Number one would be text edit controller, and number two would be text edit controller two. So we are going to give this controller to this number one and number two, no longer constant. Number two, oh, number R is missing. Okay, okay, we are ready. Okay, so we have so we have both of it now ready. So when we say add, what we are going to do, we are going to do what number one plus number two, and similarly number two, one minus number two, basically. So we'll use setState. Is the result is going to be ready? Yes, of course. And what kind of operation we are going to perform in this is addition. So let me get those number into integers. Number one into int r's number one value. Number two would be number two's value. Good. Then addition would be, we are going to do addition. So let's find the result. Result would be number one plus number two. Correct. Final. We can't have final fields. Okay. That's all. And what is the operation we performed? It is going to be add. Correct. And is result ready? Correct. Yeah. Result is ready now. So let's see what happens when we do addition. Let's see. 2 plus 2. Addition would be okay. So we instead of something like, okay, I wrote it in subtraction. Second. So let's see what did we do, where we went wrong. Okay, some weird result in this page. 3 plus 3, 6. 5 plus 3, 8. Very well. So let's do the same thing for subtraction. Simply, and you can see what we do added, right? So add 8. So you can go wild with the example, but yeah, just to keep it simple. When we hit sub, it subtract. When we hit add, it adds. That's it. That's what we are going to do in block. Let's see how we do it. Okay. Let's start with the block part first. Okay. So we'll define the block name would be add and sub block dot. This is a folder basically. We create one folder. Okay. So I think I missed one thing where I did not explain what is a part. Part is basically, if you are from Java, it's like creating one. It's not exactly what it is, but I'll just give an example. It's like creating a package, a basic package, or like grouping up together. It's similar to that. So let me have add sub block defined dot dart file. Let me add event file. Let me have that state file as well. So this boilerplate is not good, right? But don't worry, in the next session, we'll make sure that this goes away. If it is not going away, then at least we'll make sure that we don't have to like create those files manually. We'll see that how to do. So similarly, what we did in the state, we are going to do the same thing here. Okay. So let's do it. Let's first define the part, what it is going to part of, add sub block. That's it, right? Part of. Okay. This is going to be part of this class. Okay. Let's have one class name add sub state. Okay. Of course, it's going to be exchange with equitable. Okay. Then we need to define the props, which we are going to define inside the props. Let's define what are the variables there. Those are going to be part of it. Explain. Let me just have it added here because okay. Now to make sure that it is part, like it is been like basically event and state, both are the part of the block. So simply we'll say part. What are its parts? Basically add event and like the other one is the state. So this is how we get the ability to have every package imported into the single one rather than having it everywhere. It's not defined here, I guess. Did we miss on something? No. Okay, fine. So yeah, let me just come back to the state. So let's define what are the variables that is going to be taken part in it. Okay, let's see what are the events first. Just of course we'll go define the states first in terms of variable. Let's see what are the events. One event is addition, other one is a subtraction. So I can make one variable pass into the event to make sure the addition, do the subtraction, but no, we should not do it. It's not compulsory to have minimum events. Rather, it's more preferred to have a separate event, but not meaningless events like what we might have created previously. Change to hello, not a good one. Changing is the event. So similarly here, addition and subtraction, these are the only events. Okay. Let's look at our stateful example. So in the stateful counterpart, what did we do? We simply create, like we had a variable which says result is ready or not. Let's see and copy here, and let's see what we can we do some tricks and magic with this one here. Let's see. Okay. Similarly, it will work here, right? Like the result ready, to make sure that we are going to display not applicable unless we get the result operation, which operation we performed previously, and also the result. Similar thing is going to be here as well. So let me have a constructor for the same. it's not have values from here. Or let's see, we can keep it only result. Okay, let me first define it for you guys. Yeah. So I can either pass them with the constructor. Just to give an example, I'm going to pass this result within the constructor, and other one I'll define directly. It's not compulsory. There is no hard and fast rule for this. Okay, fine. So this is how simple and similar. You can look at our other block, other state. It's the same. Nothing has changed. Of course, copy with method will be adding. Now we want to make sure that these properties are going to be in the part of our equitable. Let's declare within the props, right? Okay, all right. So let's write our final function, which is copy with. Okay, let me do it quickly. Okay. So why I'm taking them as a like nullable, because although these are not nullable, why I'm taking them as a nullable, because we might not need to change every state, right? We just want to make sure there will be some example where you are going to change a small part of it, not the entire state. I'm still gonna make change. For example, I'm going for the party. I was already in the party, but the other party is going to be more professional one. Then I'll just add one tie, right? This is how it's going to be. Okay, so let me have, but it will still change my state, right? From funky looking to something cool or something more professional. We will see how it's going to be in the next one. Okay. Hmm. This all violates is going to be gone. When I don't like to use it. But yeah. Okay. As we are going to change it, so let me have it. We can do it with other ways, but as we are using copy with, let's have it here. So it would be usable. Otherwise, we can define it manually and then pass it, which is a long story. Give you. Let me make it simple for you. Operation would be empty. Okay. Let's see. So operations, if you don't pass operation, I'll use whatever currently operations has to its shell. Similarly, I'll do it for result and for is ready. Okay. Okay. So our state is ready. Event, we are going to define it in a bit. Yeah, we are pretty much in a shape to go ahead. Okay. Similarly, what we did in the event, we are going to create one equitable and then class, and particular class will be extended, and we are going to just define it here. That's all. So let me do that. Class add sub event equitable extend. Okay. Then here only props will be there, and we are not going to pass on any props here. So let's keep it empty. And then let's have one more class add from add event. Okay, extends add sub event. Okay, we have it here. Okay, similarly, we need to have it override here because it's a parenting thing. Then we'll take it as input. What we'll be needing here would be having the number one and number twos, right? So let me define those here. Final int number one. We can do take the string and pass them there, but just to make it simple and like very application specific, I'm just going to have it integer and pass it from the UI at this moment. But you can go as creative as you want to with this one. Okay. So it's all ready, all set. Similar thing what we did here. Only had one text and props. Of course, we need to pass it with the props. Okay, so we are all set with the event. We are all set with the. We'll be all set with the block soon. Okay, let's have it. Class add sub block basically extends to the block, and it has a event and then state. Fine. Create a constructor. Of course, we'll pass on to super, and then what is the that's we already have defined it within the constructor, so we don't have to worry about it here. Okay, so I'll just write down the logic for the addition. I hope you guys are also keeping up with me. So let me write it here. So on basically what event we are putting it on, add event, correct? So what we are going to emit basically, we are going to emit something with copy with. So we want to make sure that results are ready now. As soon as we do something, results will be ready. So first result is ready, correct? Second one would be what would be the result. So the result would be event dot number one plus event dot number two, correct? Then operations. What operation we did? Addition. Fine. Okay. Let me just do it same for the sub. Okay, we forgot to define the subtraction, right? Let me have it. Okay, we are all set again. Cool. We have all the things which are going to be needed. Last thing is left, which is to define a class, basically our consumer and stuff. Add sub block screen. Okay. Mhm. So as I said, provider and the consumer would be in the separate class. So let me do that. So first stateless class would be add sub screen, and the other one would be stateless add sub consumer. It's going to consume this particular blocks, whatever it's going to provide. So to start an initialize block, we will use block provider. Then within that, we'll define which block to be created. Which block we are going to create? Add sub. So we'll define the add sub. Okay. And what would be the child for this one? Add sub consumer. We're almost there, guys. Okay. So within here, we'll use block builder. We'll see how consumer and other listeners and everything works with the next one. Okay. Okay, let me copy and borrow our UI, which never changes. Okay. So all of this controller can be defined or should be defined within our state, but let's not jump into that. We'll define it here as it's not going to change it to stateful. But yeah, we'll see it in the next one, how we can define it on the state level. Of course, it will be in a main state. We'll see how it works. But yeah, let me have it simply here. Text edit controller just to keep something similar and to join the bridge from like, so make sure that we are not doing something crazy. Okay. Okay, this is also done. Let me comment this. Let me comment this. Okay, so whether results are ready or not, how do we know? Basically, which particular block builder it is. So how do we do it? You can find it here. We'll define first what is the block and what is the state. It's a standard, so you don't have to worry. It's going, once you have a good practice, you won't even gonna miss it. Okay. So what is the block name? Add sub block, add sub state. Fine. Okay. Yes. So state dot. So this state has this, right? Result ready. State dot operations is ready. Or state dot result is there. Correct. Nothing has changed. Okay. So let me just call those events. Okay. What was the funda to call an event? Block provider. Then basically we'll use the off method to get the block provider hierarchy, and then we'll add which block we want. Add sub block. Then we'll have an event. Then we'll add an event. Add event. Basically, that's all. Let's see what we get. Okay, let me add it for subtraction as well. Okay, fine. Let's see what is there. We need to map it yet. I haven't done it. Hmm. Okay, nothing is too scary. This is this. Fine. This is with the block, not with the other one, right? Okay, so this is all about how we can create. I'll just summarize once again because we last quickly do it. We defined the controllers. We copied the UI as it was. We just call those events, which adds and subtracts. And in that events, basically we have defined addition and subtraction. That's all. And what we are doing, the operation. And once we have the result, we'll not no longer show that not applicable. Okay. So that is pretty much it, guys. I hope you learn a basic fundamentals of block here. So I am open to any comments, feedback, and we are next time we'll see advanced block. And let me know if you need. Also, tell me if you have any suggestions on the topics. I'll give it from my end as well. But anything if you have. Okay, guys. I think that's it for today. And you will get this code or whoever has joined this. And also this particular tutorial will be available on YouTube to rewatch it. I'll share the link along with it. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a good day.